Mine is a much humbler goal, to share the prayers and principles of prayer that energized, transformed, and revolutionized my life, my relationship with God, and everything I thought I knew about ministry. I still remember when the first flickering prayer flame sprang to life in me. I was 16 and had casually pulled a book from the shelf of my dad's library. More because it had a cool cover than for any other reason. It was Leonard Ravenhill's book on prayer, Why Revival Tarries. I can still quote it. The Cinderella of the church of today is the prayer meeting. This handmaid of the Lord is unloved and unwooed because she is not dripping with the pearls of intellectualism, nor glamorous with the silks of philosophy. Neither is she enchanting with the tiara of psychology. She wears the homespuns of sincerity and humility, and so is not afraid to kneel. The offense of prayer is that it does not essentially tie in to mental efficiency. That is not to say that prayer is a partner to mental sloth. In these days, efficiency is at a premium. Prayer is conditioned by one thing alone, and that is spirituality. One does not need to be spiritual to preach, that is, to make and deliver sermons of homiletical perfection and exegetical exactitude. By a combination of memory, knowledge, ambition, personality, plus well-lined bookshelves, self-confidence, and a sense of having arrived, brother, the pulpit is yours almost anywhere these days. Preaching of the type mentioned affects men. Prayer affects God. Preaching affects time. Prayer affects eternity. The pulpit can be a shop window to display our talents. The closet speaks death to display. I also have some favorite prayers in the Bible that have greatly affected me. Moses' prayer to see God's glory, Elijah's pointed and powerful prayers, David's passionate pursuit of the presence of God and his heartbroken plea to be back where I was with you, before the sin with Bathsheba. All of these are verbal voicings eager for encounters, but some of the greatest prayers were unspoken. I remember growing up hearing pastors in church services ask, "Are there any unspoken requests?" John leaning on Jesus' breast was prayer, a silent plea for intimacy. Often when my children come into my arms, they cannot express how they feel. Prayer can be as simple as curling up in a ball and hearing God say, "I know what you need." One of my favorite authors, Richard Foster, subdivided prayer into 21 categories with excellent explanations and examples for each one in a book entitled Prayer, Finding the Heart's True Home. This is just one of many excellent books I recommend to God chasers who want to plumb the depths of prayer in their pursuit of God's presence. Richard Foster, a Quaker who serves as the Jack and Barbara Lee Distinguished Professor of Spiritual Formation at Azusa Pacific University, lists his 21 categories of prayer as follows. Simple prayer, prayer of the forsaken, the prayer of examination, the prayer of tears, the prayer of relinquishment, formation prayer, covenant prayer, the prayer of adoration, the prayer of rest, sacramental prayer, unceasing prayer, the prayer of the heart, meditative prayer, contemplative prayer, praying the ordinary, petitionary prayer, intercessory prayer, healing prayer, the prayer of suffering, authoritative prayer, and radical prayer. But the most common approach to describing prayer follows a simpler path and views it through 7 simple categories based on the 7 segments of the Lord's Prayer. Jesus simplified things even further and divided prayer into 2 categories when he said, 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. He described the first prayer category this way. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself. The Lord went on to describe the content of the man's prayer in detail, but the most significant thing I noticed about the Pharisee's prayer is that he prayed with himself. His audience of one didn't seem to include God as a major participant. It seems God wasn't really interested in joining that private prayer meeting. The second category of prayer was epitomized by someone far less prestigious, powerful, and respected than the Pharisee. He was a sinner, and he had enough sense to know it. In his desperation, humility, and hunger for God,